Hello, welcome back to another Ruffa Sports Cars video. In today's video, I'm going to be doing a little commentary and a little bit of my thoughts while actually having some buyer POV video. So I went to the Capital City Card Show. It was hosted by a friend and a viewer of the channel, very early supporter of the channel, and it was an amazing card show. Very nice. It was a little small, but in the future he's going to actually double up the tables and all that. But it was only small because of it being the first time that he was running it. He didn't want to overwhelm himself with the workload and just the event size in general and all that. But the nicest thing was that with it being a smaller show, there was a lot of time to do, everything you wanted to. It was not so stressed out. I wasn't stressed out. I was just enjoying my time. This was very early on, literally within 10-20 minutes of the show starting, that I found this box and started to look through. Wanted to get some buyer POV video footage for the channel, and I also wanted to take the time to talk to you about what I personally look for in these boxes and all that. Now, it's a little tough, especially depending on where you are at in your selling journey and where your knowledge is for these cards and cards in general and all that. But the nice thing is that once you get more and more in tune and having that knowledge ingrained in your memory and your brain, you'll be able to do a lot of what I do and all that. Especially, let's just say, if you do decide to start a whatnot channel and a whatnot stream, then you'll be able to know what about you got for cards and where you can be at for cards and where, something might sell for you potentially, or where you're hoping something will sell for you. And hopefully in the long run, you'll even exceed your expectations. But you can see I'm kind of looking through, trying to find some stuff. And eventually here, I'm going to decide that the box just isn't worth it to look through for me. But I do find a couple cards that I do decide to grab. But this was all a dollar box here. I actually have another clip of me going to look through a little collection that someone wanted to sell me and actually reached out to me for direct sale. It was someone I knew before, and I think that it was a little pretty much a little bargain box buyout, pretty much for the most part. I think he was just trying to offload some stuff. Might have had too much inventory, or we just wanted to get some extra cash for the show or something like that. But you can see this is the part where I start looking through. I have no idea what's in here, no idea what to expect, but usually I can pretty much gauge anything within about 10 minutes or so, if what I can pay and what really I can expect throughout the lot. This might have been a box that I've already looked through, so I want to keep that in mind. Some of this stuff might be stuff I passed on at the given price points, but you can see there's some local teams. So this is just like Northern California stuff. So you got the Giants, you got the 49ers, you got some stuff. The lighting wasn't the best for refractors, or at least certain refractors, and being able to tell if the card was shiny or not at certain points. So I was trying to see if that Patrick Bailey was a refractor or not, because Patrick Bailey is a stud, but it wasn't a refractor. So this stuff, I really, $2 here and there. The red ones were $2 price point, and then the black ones were $3 price point. I know that off the top of my head because I've done a deal with him. And it really, you're not wanting to just take, any card technically sells for $1, but how many cards are you really going to be able to get $1 for? That's kind of like what I want you guys to think about too, is although a card might be worth something, or last sold for something, you might not always be able to get that. Or are you going to be able to sell that for yourself? And what's the rundown? How long is it going to take for it to sell for that? What can you do with these cards too? There's a couple of different sites like Buy Sports Cards I used to sell on that a lot of this bulk stuff could have been really good for. Or certain bulk stuff that you might not be able to sell, but now on, Whatnot, I can just offload that. Like, there's a really cool Princess Leia. It looks like maybe Luke or Anakin also. So some Star Wars stuff. I don't think I had actually seen those Star Wars cards, because I might have bought some of those, especially that Leia. But the cool thing is that you never know what you're going to find in these boxes. I do think he knows his value, so for the most part, I'm not going to find a $100 card, and that's really what I'm looking for and thinking of when looking in these boxes. Looking for those cards where I think maybe, hey, this is a $100 card, this is a $20, $30, $40 card. It can really help you, gauge a better overall idea of what to expect in a box. I don't see any of that in here. I wasn't expecting to find any of that in here. I just know that there's such a low floor when trying to make this purchase that I need to pay accordingly. I'm not going to have that find where, oh, hey, look, that's a case hit for, $150, where I'm into it for $2 across the board, and I have a whole bunch of bulk stuff on Whatnot. That's just not this deal. I've had deals like that before, and that's really a deal I really love to do, is where there is a ton of stuff, that someone has in their collection that they want a bulk buyout rate for the entire thing, and maybe they'll get paid out more than, what they would if they did their own, separate transactions and everything like that. So something like this, there's a lot of cards here that I personally am not fully in love with selling during my prime time Whatnot slot. Each and every Wednesday, 6 p.m. PST, I go live and sell an absolute ton of cards. All literally anything you see in this video will more than likely be ran on Whatnot at some point, so you can see me thumbing through. There's some Bryce Youngs. I was actually aged well. He had a really good game this past week. But the Raiders stuff will more than likely go to my PC, so always cool to see some of that in there. But yeah, I sell a ton of cards on my Whatnot stream, but I'm trying to, improve and increase the actual overall quality of my streams and what cards I'm running and all that. There's some cards in here for sure that'll make it into there, but the vast majority are cards that, and at least in this box, there's another box that I wouldn't really love to have as main attraction cards during the stream. Hopefully this box kind of improves that. You can see some holiday stuff, nice in time for the holiday season, so run those in the next weeks, and hopefully some people will like those. There's some nice, like you can see I grabbed right away the $2 section here. Reds are $2 in this thing. There's a Skeens. I always do well on Skeens, exactly what I thought when I saw those. $2 cards. There's some SP image variations for Christmas. Perfect timing on Christmas. Some stuff might be lucky to get $2 back for me, but I think if I can get this box at a good price point, I can do something with it, especially because in the future I do want to actually have another stream and to increase the overall amount of streams that I do. Potentially thinking about Saturdays. We got to kind of brainstorm and think about what I want to do and when I want to do it and all that. But a lot of this stuff can be, nice filler stuff or, nice main attraction cards where I might have not had that before. So, you got to know what you can get, but also at the same time, if you don't know what you can get, you have to just kind of assume or guess what you can get for something. I think maybe around $1 or so average would be, on certain cards, and depending on what I do and depending on what stuff I set aside over time, I can hopefully hit. And then, if I sell off 200-300 cards from this lot, then I can recoup $200-300, and then that's not including what I put into my main attraction show as well. So, really, I want to do a quick shout out to the Woodhaven Trading Firm. They're going to be the future sponsor and the first ever sponsor of the channel. There's going to be 2 links in the description below. Check out the links down below in the description. The first link is going to be the website. That is their wholesale website. And if you have a business or wanting to resell some trading card storage boxes, or if you're looking for some yourself, they have an Amazon store. I have an affiliate link down below as well for the Amazon store. Go and check that out. They have some amazing boxes and perfect in time for the holiday season too. So go and check them out, and we're going to be doing stuff together in the future, and maybe even hopefully long term. But I wanted to do that real quick. Trying to get better and better at shouting them out. That one is actually pretty quick, but I have a little script I'm going to have to do for the actual sponsorship, but I think you guys will like that one. But you can see, again, I'm trying to go quick. He had a little kiddo with him that was really antsy about going around the show, so I offered here. He was like, "What do you think?" And I was like, "I think," like, he wanted to be at 500, which if there was a lot of stuff that I was considering for my main show stream, I would have probably been okay. I'm okay with considering $500, but I probably been a lot more okay with it. There was a lot of just filler stuff. You know what I mean? Like, big league rookie Jason Dominguez, obviously a cool card. I might be lucky to sell it for $1 on my stream and get 50 cents to me. So I have to keep that in mind too. If I can have, let's just say, $150, and then I have to have 450, 150 bucks of, main attraction cards where I put them in my stream. I average, about $2 payout per card on my Whatnot stream. That's including me putting in some higher dollar ones. So say 75 cards I'm going to put into my Whatnot stream on Wednesdays, and then I would need about 400 cards to just break even if I did another stream. And some of these I might, just bulk lot out. It looks like there's some Zion rookies. Might kind of toss up. Do I sell them off individually? Do I sell them off in bulk progressive lot? What do I do here? I really think 350. I just really wanted to do, and he does agree there. We've done deals before, and it's a fair offer and all that. But I will go back to the other table here that he found me at, and then we'll go through and go through the little higher dollar section at that table. And really, I think the biggest thing is just making educated guesses and knowing, if let's just say if I said 500 is fine, right away at that collection buyout. The thing is that you put yourself into it at a lot higher of a cost, and you also have to then recoup a lot more money to make it that same return. It's the $150. Obviously, doesn't sound like a lot, especially, let's just say, as somebody, secondary to the deal, and someone not running the numbers. If you pay $150 more than the $350, that's about, let's just say, 40% of your total buy cost right there extra. Now, if you say, like me, have a margin that you're trying to hit of 30% profit, that's hopefully where I like to be when I do buys, is 30% profit margin across the board. And that's for the entire year, and including my other costs as well, which, you can figure out your numbers there, whatever you want to do. But if I had to do that at $500 to hit the 30% margin, I might have had to make $300 profit on top of, I just kind of threw out a number. I think it's more or less, I want to say $150, but then you have to include what you spend on going out to card shows, what you spend on food, you have to include whatever you spend on this, that, the other, every other expense, supplies, it's inventory or like other inventory, but card show costs, insert whatever costs there. You have to then increase that number, and I would guess maybe potentially buy another 20-30% or so. I don't even know what the rundown would be, but maybe $225 profit. So could I have seen myself getting $730 for that thing? I don't know. For the lot, maybe. It kind of just depends on how certain stuff runs and all that. If there was no fees, I had to consider, take into account too. I would potentially be more in love with considering that. But with the fees, I think that takes up a big portion, a big chunk of where it is. If, there wasn't a 30% processing fee I had to pay on every single transaction on Whatnot, I think then that 500 number would be more in line with, maybe closer to 425 or so, just to split the difference, and really make sure that everyone's happy. But, I have to pay 30 cents every single transaction. If I do that across, that 400, 500 cards, that is already right there. How much is that? $150. So that's already pretty much right there. So sadly, you kind of have to think about that too. What fees are you paying? And here, I see the bogey. So you got to think about your personal collection. I think here I have so much bogey. I have so much Bogdanovic. He's my favorite basketball player. He's a Serbian. He's a nice role player too. He played for the Hawks, played for the Kings, and now he currently plays for the Clippers. I was going to buy it, but I considered the exponential return that I could have in the future here if I, save that $5 on that card. And really, I think me putting that $5, say, back into the business or back into the stock market in my Roth IRA, it really, I think I would have been more happy with the returns I would have had. And then maybe in the future, let's just say when I'm, 50 years old and I can buy that Bogdanovic for, $5. And hey, what did I actually get out of that return, for that $5 I saved here? That's kind of what I decided there. So that's what I really want you to think about too is, hey, it's $5, but what can I do and where can I turn $5 into in the long run? But so, yeah, you can kind of see, I'm looking through, trying to grab some stuff, really hoping that there's, some cards in here. This was my first stop, my first table. There was some basketball stuff. I just had a basketball stream, so I kind of knew where my basketball would sell at if I did, especially if I only did a basketball stream. Sometimes, especially with me being a predominant and mainly selling football cards, as well as a whole bunch of other cards, it might be a little more tough to get that same value based off of just running a only basketball stream. But I think that really, if you're in tune with what you can expect and really are realistic, sometimes it might be tough to buy certain cards, although they might be at the value of what they are. Sometimes people are looking at this stuff and saying, oh my goodness, this is my heaven. My heaven is in the dollar bins. This is still technically a value bin. Still, eventually maybe I'll get to this level, but sometimes at certain points I'm lucky myself to get 50% paid out to me if I ran a card on whatnot of flash comp, should I say. And that's where I don't risk taking chances on some of those cards where, let's say, like a $20, $30 card, like right here, $15, Stephon Castle, very cool NBA Cup, little rookie mosaic parallel, $15. I might be lucky to get $8 paid out to me, especially given my coupon situation. I keep it in a one touch, and then I upgrade their shipping for $3.50. So I have to keep that in mind, because usually whenever I do buy these cards in a one touch, I'll keep them in a one touch. So you have to keep your shipping process in mind, your supplies, costs in mind. Now, I love mags. It's a great business tactic and a great sales tactic. But for someone like me, I have to consider that extra cost associated with mags. So it's something where, the standard person would love this table because, hey, I don't have to buy mags. They're brand new, sleeved up even, not going to be, getting scratched up. But you can see, sometimes different business models can impact that, that ideology of mags and a one touch and, having stuff priced out. But so, yeah, you can see I'm going to try to comp out a Dominique Wilkins here. It was Contenders autograph, numbered, I think, to 49 potentially. See what the price rundown is. You can see him talking there. And I was like, I'm just going to make this quick because he was the person who wanted to do a deal with me. So I put my bogey back and put the Dominique Wilkins back. And I think I had like $13 maybe, or like $12 in sticker, and he did 10, and I was like, yep, sounds good, and I'll pay you real quick and get going. So paid him, and he didn't have change. Always get change if I had to do say, but I'm gonna get going. I did this video, get it out for you guys, but I appreciate you watching, taking it easy with me. I hope I see you in the next one, and deuces. Almost forgot this card. Almost forgot a card.
Which one?
Thank you.
The ticket? I can't believe the price on that.